Alright, welcome to the MSI 2023 play-in preview video.
Yeah, we're here to go over play-in previews and all that stuff.
I have ahJester here. I will link him in the description. He will remind me to do that.
I will forget to remind you to do that, but yeah.
It'll end up there eventually. That's the moral of the story. But this is the MSI logo. I'm going to move on before somehow I get copyrighted for it. Oh, no, it's not moving. Okay. All right, it moved.
Thank God.
All right. Technical difficulties. We're doing this in one take. Mostly because I don't have the patience to do a second take. This is the play-in bracket. For the life of me, I don't know why Group B's playing first, but Group B's playing first. So these team previews will be grouped in the order in which the teams play according to the schedule on the Riot mobile app. Because if that's not the correct schedule, then I don't know what is the correct schedule.
If that's not the correct schedule, then they're just fucking winging it, and we have no idea what the schedule is.
Yeah. Also, these games are at 8 a.m. our time, night.
Oh hell yeah, dude! I'll be able to watch those then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They're 8 and then 11 because they're best of threes. So.
Oh, gotcha.
All these are best of threes. The entire play-in is best of threes, and as soon as we get out of play-ins, we get to the actual bracket game, and those are all best of fives immediately. Jesus. They're best of five double elimination. This is not... MSI traditionally has been like, they do a round robin, and they get to playoffs. Like, they do a condensed round robin in groups, and they do the playoffs.
Alright, I understand that.
Yeah, they're not doing that.
They're just doing raw best of five.
It's a best of three play-in bracket, and then it's best of three play-in bracket with double elimination. This is double elimination, if you noticed.
Yeah, I see.
That's a whole bunch of bullshit. All these games are best of three, except for the LCQ, the last chance qualifier. That will be a best of five, if I read the format correctly. So none of these teams are out if they lose. You have to lose 2 rounds to be out. So.
That's good. Gives them another chance.
I will also be giving my opinion on who I think will win or lose, and also what they need to ban in my head. But, like, this is... Lower regions don't do well in MSI, but we'll get to the good lower region teams. Yeah. Alright, the first matchup is DFM and PSG Talon. DFM is the LJL 1 seed. They won the spring split in Japan. They are the most prolific LJL team that has ever been in the LJL. They've won the split 15 times.
Oh wow, Jesus! Yeah, that's impressive.
This is basically the team they sent to Worlds. I think their mid laner is different.
Right.
Arya is very good though. So they play a very specific style. If you can tell by their picks, they play tank top laner, meta jungler, mage mid laner, hyper carry, and the support that goes with the hyper carry. They play Rakan with Zeri. They don't really play Lulu with Zeri.
Okay. That's different, but that's good to see.
Which they didn't play.
I like the front to back team fighting. It seems like they always will try to keep it consistent front to back, which is good.
Which in their playoff run they played 0 Zeri. They played all Xayah Jinx basically. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So they were over there getting excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of matched what every other region did. Like, every region seemed to move away from the Zeri Lulu and go into the Jinx versus Aphelios Xayah meta.
It's good to see it mix up then. That's useful. Or not useful, but, entertaining. It keeps it fresh.
So, you don't want to let this guy have Annie. I believe he was 6-0 on Annie when he got it.
Oh,
according to my notes here.
No, on Annie, that's fun.
Yeah, so he didn't play any. They did not allow him to play any Annie in the playoffs. They banned it consistently against him in the playoffs, or they took it against him. He played basically Ari, Jace, and Talia in the playoffs. Steel plays most of the meta junglers, but he does like to play Xin Zhao, which is a good note. Xin Zhao's a good jungler.
Yeah, he is a good jungler. It likes to brawl early and get lanes ahead and stuff like that as well, so it can create some snowbally situations with some of these
I think he's
carry-esque characters.
I think Xin Zhao's Wukong with better one-on-one fights, but worse team fighting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree with you there, honestly. Like, he has the ability to just invade and whoop the shit out of the other jungler and stuff, which is, if his lanes are all winning, that is a complete and total potential option there. Draft winning lanes.
Also great gap closer.
Jungle. Great gap closer. Oh,
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Because if you land the W, you get increased range on your E.
Okay.
Toll 2, I don't know how to say it. Full disclosure, have not watched a game this team played, so I do not know how to say it. Also, I don't know if I can find it in English to watch it. But don't know how to say the top laner's name. So
he just picks tanks.
He picks tanks, except for one game in playoffs where he played Tristana top, and I don't really know how to feel about that.
I think that's a fun little mix-up. I would actually expect to see that in one of the games at the very least if they start doing well, just to mix things up and keep people on their toes.
The hard part is this is best of threes, and if I've learned anything from watching best of threes in LEC this season, best of threes are typically we play one style for the entire best of three. There's no real mix-ups.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Because you got to win 2 games, so you're just gonna come with what brought you. There's not really the best of 5 opportunity to mix everything up once or twice. But that's DFM. That's the LJL 1 seed, and they are playing PSG Talon, who is the PCS 1 seed, who is the best, who is one of the, I think, consistently the PCS 1 seed. I think they weren't last season, I believe. I think the Flying Oysters was the 1 seed at Worlds.
But typically they are their number 1 seed.
Yeah, they're really good typically. They did get a new player. Jinjia is their new player, as far as I know. He was the sub jungler for Jinji last season. So he's a Korean, which they're the best at this game, typically.
Yeah, that's huge. I don't like seeing that he's a Korean jungler that only has played Wukong and Sejuani.
He played a game of Kindred in playoffs. I have a note here that says he played a game of Kindred in playoffs. But he played like 11 games of Wukong and like 7 games of Sejuani this season, so he plays a lot of that, yeah. And then Ozzy plays basically the meta. He played Cassante and Gnar in the regular season, and then he played mostly Gragas and Kinnan in the in playoffs. The ability to play these AP top laners while they play a AD jungler and an AD mid and Tristana is really cool, is like really effective.
Yeah, I can agree there. Especially with it being something like Cannon.
Ubao
is always scary in top lane because he just can completely snowball out of control in the lane.
Yeah.
Laning phase can get very rough for the enemy top laner, especially if you just let him counterpick Kennen into certain melee matchups.
Well, we're at the point where Kennen's so strong he's blind picked most games at this point.
Yeah, I can 100%.
But they just blind pick Kennen and they dare you to take whatever the counter pick is.
Do we even have a good counter pick right now?
Look, the counter pick they keep playing is Jarvan top. I wish that thing would burn at the stake because it's not good. It doesn't work. Don't need it. Ubao played a bunch of Ryze and Azir in the regular season and then didn't play either of them the entire playoffs because they got nerfed at some point. So he played Ahri, Tristana, and Syndra, and he went 0-4 in Ahri, so I hope he doesn't play that.
Yeah, I could see then, if that's the case, a lot of first pick Kennens and playing that Tristana mid wrinkle that they have going on there. And Syndra as well is always just a great option as a mid laner. I
See,
know she's not super popular in pro play, but she seems to be a really safe static pick for mid lane and solo queue and pro play. She's
yes,
just such a solid character.
especially if you pick her on like R3 and you can get and you can like ban out 2 mid laners.
Yeah, try to protect her from things that might mess up the laning phase for her.
I project this to be the way this series goes. If they're on red side, they're gonna first pick whatever the other team picks. They're gonna first pick Lucian Nami if it's up, because Wako plays Lucian, and I'm not saying he doesn't play anything else. I'm just saying he played 11 games of Lucian this season, and it was banned against him 11 times. And it was banned by his team 3 times, and it was played against him 3 times. And there was just 3 games total this season where it wasn't pick or ban. So, he's gonna play Lucian, and he's really good at it.
Sounding like the whole letting Deft have Lucian equals loss kind of situation. I haven't watched him play it, but
I haven't watched him play it either, but I went through every game they played this season on GOL. Oh, what the fuck does the abbreviation stand for? Game of Legends or whatever it is. And it's pick ban against him the whole season.
Gotcha.
Like
so he likes Lucian.
Also, if you ban Lucian, he's either gonna play a fellow Suzerain. That's basically it. He has other games of other stuff, but it's a bunch of Lucian, and then I think 6 apiece of a fellow Zeri, and then it's a bunch of 1-offs or 2-offs.
Gotcha. So basically that's his main champ pool, but he could dip a little deeper if he had to.
I would imagine if you don't ban them out, the first 3 picks on red side and blue side, probably every game for PSG Talon are going to be Wukong, Lucian, Nami.
I could imagine that.
Like,
just looking at it.
And I'm going to toggle back to DFM. Here, I imagine DFM's going to play Jinx or Xayah. I imagine that PSG is going to play Lucian Nami, but they could play Aphelios Thresh. Because I imagine Lucian's going to be banned most of these games.
I would hope so. I mean, 11 games on it, it probably should be banned.
We're probably going to see a lot of Kennen into a tank, because lots of tanks, Kennen.
Yeah, and then it does seem like top lane's always some type of tank, especially in this situation where Tool just picks tanks every time.
Yeah. So I imagine PSG will ban like Annie, Maokai, and probably Rakan, because Rakan's really broken, and I wouldn't want them to have Xayah Rakan. So if you ban like Maokai, Annie, Rakan, and the other side bans Lucian, Wukong, and I don't know, Lucian, Wukong, and X other thing, then I think you get into into fun stuff. Probably maybe Kennen, yeah.
Because I look at Kennen into a bunch of these melee tanks, and it's just like it's such a rough laning phase for all of them. And like you could say Malphite would have his fighting chance if he went full AP build.
Malphite's the pick that a lot of people just take Sion and lose the matchup, so they're effective in team fights later.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of Sion just get taken into Kennen this season.
Just accept a loss and say my team fighting is good enough to where I don't give a rat's ass.
Like, I'm gonna go down 20 farm and give up some tower plates, but like I'm not gonna die.
Yeah.
Kennen's gonna buy coal in that matchup and say, well, we can't kill each other, so I'm gonna farm and you're gonna farm and we're gonna stare at each other. And you're gonna take Comet so you can do chip damage. And that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be Comet Sion. That's what it's gonna be.
Fun shit over there, Comet Sion.
So I fully expect PSG to win this series. Especially if the guy gets Lucian. They were really good looking at their score lines and stuff this season. They went 24-7 total this season. So that was I think they play best of 3s there like they do in Korea and China. So it's very fun. Our next matchup is Loud and G2. So Loud is the Brazil representative. They're the CBLO 1 seed. They are not the team I wanted to win the CBLO, but that's besides the point. Robo plays melee top laners. They pretty much they ban Olaf against him a lot, but he's really good at Renekton. Like, I think he went undefeated on it in playoffs. So nice. I don't know. The hard part with Loud is they were really dominant all season, so they didn't have to play a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah,
they just played their stuff.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah.
Like,
okay, I pulled Robo up. He is really scary with these picks. He's 4-0 on Aatrox and 7-0 on Renekton. He's 5-1 on Olaf.
Mm-hmm. Is that on playoffs or is it on the full season?
That's just all season.
Yeah. So he's gonna play one of these. He's gonna get one of these. You can't ban all these out. And Aatrox is the one that is weird because, like, worldwide, that's not a pick that gets played right now. I saw Aatrox mid yesterday in the EMEA Masters finals. They played Aatrox mid and Rumble top.
Okay, that's fun.
That was the Game 5 pick. They picked Aatrox mid and Rumble top, and they won Game 5. Whoever it was, I don't remember. Yeah. It was you'll love the name of the team from yesterday. The name of one of the teams. I don't remember who they played, but it was somebody versus something Unicorn Sexy Edition.
The Sexy Unicorn, hell yeah, dude.
It was great. It was great. Very fun games. I had them on my screen while I was spamming Kindred, while I was spamming a hyper roll. They were very fun. Back to this team though. So this team played. They basically played their two things, and they played one-offs of a lot of things, but it was basically the two things I'm showing on the screen, other than Robo. And Cios played a whole bunch of Nautilus in the playoffs, and he'll play a Mumu. So I put a Mumu because he's the one person I've noticed in any major region, especially of any of these teams, that plays a Mumu support.
Mumu is a fun support too. I love him absolutely. I think he's highly slept on as a support pick, including in pro play. I think he could do quite a bit of good work. So I'd like to see him draft that a couple of times. I know you said he spams mostly Nautilus.
It's mostly Nautilus.
I'll be sad if all he plays is Nautilus. I just want to see him in a Mumu game or two.
He plays. I have a note here. He plays mostly engaged supports, so I imagine he plays everything. The mid laner, Tanoans. The fact he plays Talia and Lysandra is really fun. Is really fun to me because those are like, it's not Ari, it's not Annie. That's what he played in playoffs. He played Talia and Lysandra all playoffs.
So he's just been trying to get picks and lock characters down with those two picks as well.
Yeah,
he's playing more of a supportive role in mid lane, which makes sense with their draft. AP more supportive role in mid lane because you have Robo up there with some of these AD hyper carry-esque characters or carry-esque characters like Jax is always got the potential to just win fights because it's Jackson. He's so strong. Olaf becomes monster. Aatrox is team fight god still, even though he was nerfed from that season. He's still great in team fights. That kind of stuff.
And Xayah is by far his most played. I know I have Aphelios on top, but Xayah is by far his most played. It was 4 played in playoffs and 5 played in regular season, so it's 9 played. Okay. I expect to see Xayah picked. Also, I assume all of these teams are working on picks for MSI.
Oh, I would imagine and hope so.
I assume they're not coming in with just their box of picks from regular season. Renekton's a pick that we're going to get to the LEC team in here in a second because that's who they're playing. Renekton's a pick they don't play really there. That you don't see a lot. You don't see a lot of Renekton across from you when you're playing in these games. You don't see a lot of Talia. So might be we also just might see some wild picks because the team they're playing is G2.
Yeah, G2
who plays wild stuff. So Broken Blade has played a bunch of stuff this season. They play that Kled flex, so Kled can play top lane and mid. They play Jarvan flex. Jarvan has 3 roles in this team. Jarvan can play 3 different roles on this team. It can be top, it can be jungle, it can be Mickey will pick it. Caps plays Sejuani mid. I will say this out loud. Yike has not played a game of Sejuani jungle this season.
When they need Sejuani, they just put it in mid.
If Sejuani has been picked twice this season by this team. Both times it was Sejuani mid with Belveth jungle.
Right.
He has a Viego, which I believe I said yesterday has a 22 KDA in 3 games played.
Yeah, you did say that.
He's undefeated. I believe he's undefeated on his Lilia this season. His Lilia was a specific counter pick into Sejuani when he was playing it. The Belveth was a specific counter pick into Elise until he just started playing it anyway.
Yeah.
Broken Blade
He also has 10 games of Maokai.
Yes, lots of Maokai. They will first pick Maokai. If they are blue side, they typically first pick Maokai. That's what they did a bunch in playoffs.
I'm surprised to see it still getting first picked and stuff after nerfs, but I am very happy about it because Maokai, he still does what he always did very well. He's good at getting vision, and he's an alt bot that's fantastic in team fights.
I'm going to say this out loud. He's better than Vi at what Vi does.
Which is targeting and locking down ADCs.
Yes, I believe more and more this season that Vi is a bait pick in the jungle, but
I can almost agree with you, especially in terms of like saying Maokai is better than her at that. I think Maokai is better than her at that because worst case scenario, with a good Maokai ult, you get to just pick any one person after that team route and just route them another time and knock them towards your team to delete them.
So, Caps plays a bunch of stuff. Caps played 23 unique champions in winter and spring.
Oh, wow. So Caps is definitely not possible to be banned out of this game.
So Caps will play a lot. Caps has a really good Jace and a really good Cassiopeia. That's why they're here. His Cass is really good. They like to play Cass, an AD jungler, and a top laner they can leave alone with whatever they're playing in bot lane.
So I like to make Broken Blade an ISO lane.
Yeah, they had this weird thing in playoffs where BB played Pantheon for 3 straight games. Like,
okay,
it's just what they do. They play stuff. Hansama, you have to ban Draven against. He will take Draven. Hit his pick ban. He is 6-0 or 7-0 on it this season. You cannot let him have Draven.
Hansama is literally the most psychotic Draven in the history of Draven. I don't care. He averages a KD of 19. KD of 19 on 6 games of Draven.
It's stupid. It's stupid, yeah. And 3 of those were in the playoffs last winter. Where they just let him have it for Mad Lions. Was just like, hey, I think it was Mad Lions. They were like, you can just have it. We have something for it. You don't. Please go home. Varus is his most played by far. I don't like Varus. I think Varus shouldn't be picked anymore. I don't think I don't think it's very good. They play Varus Heimer. Like that's what they play. That's the grouping they like. They play Varus Nautilus or Varus Heimer. I can understand why it's good. They just don't I feel like they don't pick the stuff for Varus to stand behind. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a pick cooked up. Or a handful of picks cooked up for MSI. Especially since they're going to be on a new patch for them. I don't know what the changes are between the patch they were on and this patch, though. I'm just going to be honest. Because they skip a patch. So they're going from 13.6 to 13.8. So, Lilia gets stronger. I know that for a fact.
Well, that's dangerous with that Lilia pick.
So, I know Lilia did get a buff in there somewhere. Her jungle clear is, I think, better. Or healthier. I have a note. They don't really play Zeri Lulu here. They've played it twice this season. They lost both times they played it.
So probably not the.
So they're probably not going to play Zeri Lulu. If the other team picks Lucian Nami, they'll probably pick. They're much more willing to pick Draven into Lucian Nami. If it's up. They will also play. Hansama has also played Kalista, Twitch, Kai'Sa, Samira. Misfortune was one game with a KD of like 15. Yeah. He's like one-offs of all those champions. I expect G2 to beat Loud here.
Yeah, I expect it as well. They just have such a wider pool. It makes it much more difficult in terms of draft phase and team
Also,
planning
I'm just going to
phase.
be biased here. I want G2 to get to best of fives.
Yeah, see what
I
kind of
frankly
weird
don't
stuff
care
they
how
start
they do
doing.
it. Just, I want G2 at best of fives. There's another team later I want at best of fives. And other than those two teams, I don't care who makes, but I don't care who the third team is that makes it. Because 3 of these teams will make best of fives.
Yeah.
I don't know what my next matchup is because I don't have it written down, so I'm gonna hit the button and we're gonna find out, right? I'm pretty sure I know what it is though.
Some way.
I'm pretty sure it's BLG and the LLA representative. Yeah, Movistar R7.
Okay.
So Movistar R7, they are the LLA representative. They upset 6K in the finals. They have a top laner named Bong. He is Korean.
I love
They
that
have
name.
a mid laner named Miru. He is Korean. Bong Bong's a psychopath. Bong has his normal stuff he's played. 3 games of Malphite, 5 games of Cassante in the regular season, 4 games of Scion, 5 games of Renekton, the normal stuff. And then in the regular season, he played 2 games of Tryndamere, a game of Darius, a game of Lee Sin Top, a game of Aurelia, and a game of Aatrox.
Nice.
So he'll play everything. And he has a problem standing across from him. And I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick. He's playing the best top laner in play-ins, in my opinion, in Ben.
That might be a fun matchup to watch.
And so Ben's going to pick one of those 3 things. And that's what's going to happen. He's going to pick either Kennen, Jax, or Gnar. And he's going to probably play into a tank, but might play into... I imagine we're going to see a wild pick. I don't know what to call them. What do I call the regions that aren't... I don't like calling them minor regions. It feels like an insult.
Yeah, I can agree with you. I guess the other regions, we could just call them the other regions.
But the other ones are specifically called the major regions. It's fine, whatever. All right. Movistar R7 has these picks they play. They played Sejuani in the playoffs. He played a third of the games in the playoffs. In the regular season, he played Vi almost half the games of the regular season. He's probably going to play Vi or Sejuani then.
Yeah, more than likely.
I don't like Vi. We've just went over this, but some people are good at Vi. Sometimes your team builds well around Vi. Elk's good. I mean, if you're banning Xayah and playing Vi, if you're picking Xayah and playing Vi, those are good because the other guy's just going to play a hyper carry, and he doesn't really play Jinx. So,
yeah,
that's probably good for you. Miru's going to play one of those 3 picks, basically. He played 5 games of Gragas in playoffs, 4 games he played 7 games of Sylas total this season. Probably going to see quite a bit of Sylas, even though Sylas is not played in the other regions really that much. That's the other thing. There's a lot of things that aren't... Like, there's the regional differences in champion pools, and I don't really know what these teams are going to play.
Yeah. I'd like to see some good Sylas gameplay, though. It's been a minute. Sylas has always been a favorite pick of mine for the mid lane, mainly because of just watching Zeka go completely psychotic on Sylas and Akali. That was so fun during Worlds last year. But I look at Sylas and I immediately think, like, 2 kills and the game's over, because Sylas will just snowball it.
The problem for me with him playing Sylas is if you look at the champ pool of BLG, they're not really playing things with good ults to steal.
That's true.
Except for Kennen.
Yeah, Kennen would be a good ult target to steal there.
I mean, Gnar too. Gnar's a good ult to steal.
Galio's not horrible, but it could be more ideal, that's for sure.
CO played basically exclusively Zeri and Xayah in the playoffs. He does have a Vayne game where he played Vayne into Malphite. The other team picked Malphite. He picked Vayne. And then they do have a Draven Blitzcrank game into a Felios Thresh. So you could see that, because I expect BLG to play a Felios Thresh. Scrambles to find notes on BLG. Okay. BLG. BLG is the China 2 seed, the LPL 2 seed. They made finals. Ben played 6 games of Kennen in playoffs, 9 games of Jax, and 11 games of Nara in the regular season. Kindred is an auto ban. You cannot let Kindred through, because what they will do is they will take Kindred and Galio and they will say, check us.
I remember vividly going through the notes of this and everything and looking at that, and that is such a fantastic duo. And being able to rotate Galio on any play Kindred makes is so terrifying, because you might think as a jungler, like, okay, Kindred's stealing my Raptors, I might be able to 1v1 them there, and then just Galio also, you basically have to just let Kindred take its marks from you. Because you don't know when it's going to turn into a 2v1 and you're going to get blown up and end up feeding throughout the whole game because of it.
And then, and then he plays, I have Wukong there, but it's basically Wukong in every meta jungler. He plays all of them. Okay. He's a good jungler, like Zhun's a great jungler. He played 5 Kindred in the regular season. They were all with Galio. He played 3 in the playoffs. I don't know if they were all with Galio at that point. I don't have a note for that. I know the 5 in regular season were all with Galio, I'm pretty sure.
I think he has 1 game without Galio, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And then he played 3 Nidalee in the regular season, none in playoffs. But Nidalee will have a buff going into MSI. She got an armor buff, a base armor buff, so her clear is a little healthier. So we might see Nidalee. But Elk plays hyper carries. Those are the 3 hyper carries he plays. On plays engage supports. All of them.
All of the engage supports.
All 5 of them. So
okay, I found
if you're this team, and I noticed neither of these teams plays Jinx. BLG finished their playoffs before Jinx was like the thing. I wonder, I know they're nerfing Jinx, but the nerf to Jinx is literally like she loses 2 AD at level 16 or something. It's stupid. It's not a nerf. It's they move some numbers around to make you think it's a nerf. Oh, I went too far. So Jinx might come up here. Here's the problem. If either of these teams plays Jinx Thresh, the other team is willing to play X Sting and Blitzcrank.
That's kind of scary.
So it's going to be fun. Also, I feel like there might be Vygar priority here, because Yagal played 9 games of Vygar in playoffs, and Miru played 3 games of Vygar in playoffs.
I see. So
I feel like there's going to be some Vygar priority. I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of jungle. There's going to be bans in the jungle, but I don't think there's going to be like a high priority on anything, because one guy plays Vi Sejuani, the other guy plays a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And since we're talking about the jungle pool, I did look it up while we were talking. There's 2 playoff games where Kindred was picked without Galio.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was Annie. One of them was Vygar.
Okay.
So those are things. I personally like Annie more than Vygar in terms of that. But,
yeah, he played a lot of Vygar in playoffs, but Vygar was a high priority pick for them in playoffs. Mm-hmm. I expect BLG to win this series. I want them to. I want them to make best of 5s. I expect them to come out of this side of the bracket. This is bracket A now that we're in. I expect them to come out of bracket A. I expect G2 to come out of bracket B. That's just my feelings on the matter. It's also, these are the teams. This isn't really my feelings. These are the teams I want to see in best of 5s.
Yeah.
Like, these are the best teams that I want to see in best of 5s. The next series is, maybe to me, the most interesting series. Okay. Is GAM Esports versus Golden Guardians.
yeah, I can see why that would be very interesting.
Game Esports didn't lose a set in regular season, which means they also didn't lose a set in playoffs, which means they went undefeated.
That is, that is something, all right.
T1, who's the one who is the 2 seed for Korea, but is not in play-ins because Korea gets both their seeds in the top because they won Worlds. They lost 1 set all season until they lost to the G2 in the finals, so they lost 2 sets. GAM didn't lose a set. That makes it really hard to figure out what GAM plays well because they beat everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So Levi plays a bunch of stuff. They're jungler. Levi played a Nocturne in the playoffs and a Kindred, but he also played Rumble and Nidalee, Lee Sin, and Wukong.
Sorry, you said Rumble.
He played Rumble jungle in a game. Yes,
that is fun.
So he will play Rumble. He might pull that out. His Nocturne's like a signature pick. I was looking at it. Like Nocturne's like one of the picks he's known for. He's been on this team forever. This is the same team they sent to Worlds, other than their support.
Okay.
Katie plays basically those 4 champions. Kia, I think I would like to say Kiaya. Kiaya plays basically those 4 champions.
Their top laner. It seems like the top laner is trying to just smash top lane and split push for a good amount of the game. Although Kennan's great at team fighting, but like Jace, Fiora, and Jax, they could just, if they get ahead enough, they'll just split push all game. Which I don't think we're in a split push meta at all for pro play. I don't think it's very good. So I would prefer to see that Kennen pick more often than not, and the Jace pick as well, because Jace is also pretty damn good at team fighting. He can max out those Q snipes and take half of an ADC's HP bar.
So the person I think is the most interesting. I think the interesting thing here is going to be the jungler picks, and then Style and Zen. Style, I have down Zeri, Jinx, and Varus. Those are his most played this season. But he will also play. He has also played a couple of games of Ziggs and a couple of games of Vigar.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And I don't know when he plays those Ziggs. I didn't check the full games, but Ziggs with Kindred would be really cool. Also, Ziggs is a very good pushing lane, and also can farm under and also can just farm under tower without having to have his support there.
Yeah, Ziggs is a good safe pick for an ADC. I'd like to see that.
Zen played basically just Nautilus and Rakan in the playoffs. Most of what I have down here is the stuff from their playoffs, because I thought that would be the stuff that mattered. It's the closest patch. So, I think they're really good. Golden Guardians is the LCS 1 seed, is the LCS 2 seed. All of a sudden in playoffs, Licorice became a counterpick top laner. So, Licorice has counterpick top lane stuff. He counterpicked with his counterpicks are Gwen, Renekton, and Rumble. River is a phenomenal Jarvan and Elise player.
So he has really good early games on his junglers as well.
Yes. Yes, River is a really good, capable early game jungler who played a bunch of Wukong, Jarvan, and Elise. Jarvan is his best champion though.
Okay.
They have flex picks. The Cassante will flex between top and mid. It's been a lot more mid lately, but it is flex. Licorice can play it. And then the Tristana will flex between mid and ADC. And when they play Tristana ADC, who he typically the 2 games they played it, I think both times who he played Rel.
Okay. That's very engage heavy.
So they will play Rel. I know I have down just Enchanters over there, but Stixxay also is a really good Ezreal. We don't see it a lot. It was not played a lot. But a wrinkle we saw from Mad Lions against Jinx in LEC finals was when the other team would pick Jinx, Karzi would pick Ezreal.
Okay.
At one point they played Ezreal Pike, but we're not going to talk about that.
I don't like that lane, but yeah.
Hylissang plays Pike. That's all you need to know. Hylissang's Pike is different.
All right.
But back to this series, Golden Guardians and GAM, I think this will go 3. I don't know how it's going to go. I
don't
expect it to be a lot of Jinx versus Zeri. The problem is,
Yeah,
neither of these guys played Aphelios. Neither of these guys played Xayah.
so they both basically just picked.
There's
Some
going to
of the
be
diamonds that
I
are
think there's going to be a high priority on Zeri, and then the other guy's just going to pick. I think that Stixxay, I don't know what, I think Stixxay into Zeri would pick Lucian. I think that
Try to go
Style into
Lucian on
Zeri
Zeri.
would probably just pick Jinx.
Okay. So we could go back to the old meta days where Lucian, Nami handshakes Xayah or Zeri Lulu. Yay.
Problem is, Zen doesn't really play Lulu.
Oh.
I imagine he can.
Yeah.
I imagine he can. He'll play Rakan with it most of the time, though.
Oh, okay.
Their team seems to be really set up about getting the team fights going and just playing front to back, so they don't use an enchanter for Zeri. They just let Zeri be alive.
Yeah.
But like I said, the other part is Gam dominated their entire season, and it's really hard to say. Competition level wise, I would say that Golden Guardians face better competition, but does that mean that Gam is worse than Golden Guardians? I don't know that.
Yeah, I think that's the only one. Like the only way to find out the answer to that is just put them in a ring together and watch them go at it. Honestly, I'm
because
also
their weak point in the regular season was Licorice, and then all of a sudden in the playoffs, Licorice became the counterpick guy.
They started giving him prio, and I guess they started whooping ass.
Yeah, and it started working, but I don't know if that'll continue.
Yeah, it might not continue on.
Like, was it just a run? Because they haven't played in like a month. So was it just a run? Like, that's the other thing. In playoffs, you can get momentum. That's something that can happen here. Because it's best of threes and the best of fives. Like, if one team figures it out, like, gets a good grasp on the meta and is good at what they're doing, any of these teams could make a weird run.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I'm looking at Licorice's Gwen right now because it's 3-0 with KD at 5.3.
But they're all into Cassante. I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Which is the counter pick.
Mm-hmm.
Your counter picks are gonna look good when you get the counter pick.
Yeah, I can agree with you there.
That's my big holdup here. Is like I don't know if he's not getting counter pick. If they're playing blue side and he's not getting counter pick, what is he playing? Renekton? Yeah, that's what he played in the regular season. He played Jackshire Renekton.
I see.
They're like, you're on the island.
All of his Gwens into Scion.
Okay, they're all into Scion. Okay.
Same difference. It's still a counter pick and it's still counter.
I knew they were all into the same thing. I knew they were all into the same thing. Because that was what they.
It's the same concept.
But worldwide, Gwen's typically a counter pick into Cassante.
Mm-hmm.
What was Can you see what the mid laner was playing in those 3 games?
A game of Silas.
What Gory was playing.
A game of Cassante. Sorry, what?
What Gory was playing.
Yeah. He has a game of Silas and 2 games of Cassante with his Gwen top.
So they were taking Cassante to bait the Scion pick, and then counterpick the Gwen by moving the Cassante mid.
Yep. And I imagine the one time that they didn't pick Cassante with it, I would imagine Tenacity first picked Scion, if I had to guess. So I believe doesn't Tenacity play quite a bit of Scion?
Yeah. That was the meta. That was when the 100 Thieves was just hiding Tenacity on tanks instead of letting him play like Fiora and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this one goes. I don't think either of these teams is better than BLG, which is who they have to beat to get out of this bracket.
Yeah.
But I think one of these 2 teams is probably your last chance qualifier.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
There's also a world where any of these teams in their bracket could end up playing the other team again in another best of 3. Like if Golden Guardians beats Gam and then in the next round Gam loses to BLG, they're gonna play Gam again. If then they in turn beat Movistar R7.
Yep. That would be fun to see.
So we could be in the world where they play each other 6 times.
6 times. Yep. That would be intense. That would get frustrating if you were into a losing matchup all the time. Like, for example, the Kiana, or whatever that person's name is that I'm not going to be able to pronounce, into Licorice. Licorice just keeps counterpicking him. I could see that getting frustrating very
I want to say
quickly.
it's Kaya.
Kaya? That might be it. I don't know. I'm bad at pronouncing names. So.
Also, I want to say this out loud. Gwen ain't a counterpick in any of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's going to be difficult for him to counterpick looking at his current counterpick pool.
Like that's my problem with this is he built those counterpicks on picking them into tanks. From what I could tell, Kaya don't play tanks.
Yeah.
From what I can tell, nobody on that team plays tanks.
Yeah, when I'm looking at the closest thing to tank we have is Rakan and Nautilus, which those can be tanky, but they don't get the income to actually be a full blown tank.
Like I'd like to say they play like 1-3-1. They play like old school 1-3-1, which is you take a split pusher, either top or mid, and then you take and then you take a hyper carry and a good support and a good mid and a good jungler, and you just play. Mm-hmm. I expect we'll see the Nocturne pick at least once.
I'm looking forward to seeing the Nocturne pick.
I don't think we'll see I don't know about the Kindred or the Wukong or the Lee Sin. It'll probably be specific situations. He played a bunch of junglers this season. Like I said, he has a Rumble and an Italy game.
The Rumble one's really, really cool.
There could be Rumble prio in this series. I don't expect there to be, but there could be. So let's go back to the bracket.
Prio. What was the last time we had Rumble prio?
Let's go back to the bracket. Here's the bracket. So I expect BLG to beat R7. For the sake of argument, I think Golden Guardians will beat GAM. Just sight unseen here.
Yeah.
I expect BLG to make it out. I expect GAM and Golden Guardians to play again in this second bracket game down here.
Yeah.
To decide who goes to qualifier. I don't know who wins that, but we'll just say we'll say GAM figures it out and beats them, so GAM goes to LCQ. G2 versus Loud, I expect G2 to win. PSG DFM, I expect PSG to win. So then that's gonna be fun. I expect G2 to beat PSG, so G2 advances. And then it'll be Loud versus DFM. I think Loud could win that. It just kind of depends on how the meta shakes out. PSG. I expect this to be PSG versus GAM.
All right. I think it's PSG versus Golden Guardians. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think GAM, although they're undefeated, I think Golden Guardians' competition was so much stronger that if they can hit their rhythm, they're just gonna steamroll.
It's also to me, it's just how the meta shakes out in 13.8 and what team gets a hold of the meta faster is going to be a thing. Because somebody talked about this on either a podcast or I think it was a podcast I was listening to. I think it might have been Euphoria, the LEC podcast. If you have a bad week and you don't understand the meta, you just go home.
No, I agree.
Like there's no, like they made the joke like the LCK is always stubborn and it always takes a loss or two to get back into the meta at MSI. Well, this is the first time we've ever done MSI like this. A loss or two once we get to LCK teams is best of fives and you're in the lower bracket.
Yeah.
Like
that's pretty costly.
Like a loss or two is you just wake up and you're like, oh, we're in the lower bracket now.
A loss or two is if we lose again, we go home.
Yeah. A loss or two is, wait, we're T1. This isn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Who do I think the meta like out of all the teams that are in that are at MSI? Who do I think is the best team? I don't have a list to put on the screen.
I was gonna say I don't know everybody at MSI.
I have it in my notes actually. I can read them to you. It's Genji and T1 are the LCK representatives. JDG is the LPL top seed. C9 is the LCS top seed, and those are the teams we don't see. Those are the 5 teams.
Okay. Well, good, bad, right? Or wrong.
Mad Lions is the LEC top seed. That's the 5th team. Sorry.
Okay. Good, bad, right, or wrong. I've been rooting for them since day one. I absolutely love this team. I don't think they're better than T1, but I'm still gonna say I think C1 wins it. I think Cloud9's got it.
I think Genji is the best team there.
I don't know how good Genji is. I haven't been paying attention to him. I'm like everybody else. I hype up T1, but I'm rooting for Cloud9. I think Berserker.
Genji had their way with T1 in the finals of LCK. It didn't look close, and they have a 17-year-old ADC.
Oh, so they got some crazy ass kid. The rookie comes to the Ray Boss setup. That's what I'm hearing.
Pays is really good at Zeri, and also really good at Draven for no reason.
Oh, great.
And I imagine they'll have something, because Peanut's a good jungler, and Chovy's really good, and
It's Genji.
Yeah.
I know they're a great team. Chovy, Peanut, those are 2 of the greats in terms of their lanes. Like, Peanut's the second best jungler in the world. Chovy is up there in top 5 mid laners. I'd put him in top 3 personally, but he's definitely top 5. I don't think there's very much arguing against it. Those 2 things alone are just terrifying.
I also think, for the C9 argument, I think Jimenez is a coin flip, and I don't think you can be a coin flip against these mid laners you're about to face.
Look, I think he's a coin flip that's gonna win the flip. I think he's winning it.
I just don't think you can be a coin flip against. This is another competition question. Has C9 faced competition?
I'm sorry, you cut out. What's the question?
I said this is a competition question. Has C9 faced competition?
Oh, no. I'm gonna be honest. No, not really.
Like C9 ran through playoffs. Like,
yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do if we have to play? Like, I like their champions. I think they're good. I do not know what you do if you face like G2 or Mad Lions and Hillisang pulls out Pyke and we're sitting there with Ezreal Pyke and you're just staring at it like, the fuck is that? The fuck is Ezreal Pyke?
Yeah, I agree.
What do I draft into Ezreal Pyke?
Although I agree with that, I think in terms of that specific situation, I think Berserker and Sven have what it would take to pull them up ahead in that.
Well, also, I'm going to say this. Berserker and Sven got by on being the only team that could play the ADC support with the shoving bot lane continuously.
Yeah, that's true.
T1, Genji, JDG, and BLG, they play that style for breakfast. That's the LCK style. That's what T1 did all season. You play these top of the ladder teams and you pick your weird poke lane and then a 17-year-old sitting across from you slams Draven Blitzcrank. What do?
I want to see what the response would be to that.
He's like, "Hi, my name's Paige. This is Draven. My friend over here, my support, whose name escapes me, is gonna play Blitzcrank, and we're just gonna eat you. We're gonna have fun. Because Paige is really good. Given, I don't know if he can play anything that's not Zeri and Draven, but I have not done the research for that yet.
That's future stuff.
We will be back after play-ins and after they decide the groupings for bracket stage, so we know who our best of 5s are. And once we know who our best of 5s are, I will make new graphics because I'll probably make graphics based on or change up these graphics and make graphics for the other guys, and we will come back and we will have probably another hour-long video.
It's really been an hour. Jesus
We're at
Christ.
55 minutes. I kept looking over. I knew how long we were going. The depending on what I decide, that one might be drafts instead of this stuff.
We might whip out, like, what do we think they're gonna draft?
Yes.
I love that idea.
Because that'll be more fun for us. Even if we just come up with drafts and we like screenshot them and put them into the slideshow, and then I can stuff with. We'll come up with something. We'll come up with something different than just the regular slideshow for the bracket stage. Mix it up. I'm still working on formats for videos. This hour-long video is going to be chaos to put up, but I feel like we went in detail. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for watching. I will, like I said, I will link everything in the description. I'm also gonna link the guy I got this video idea from. His name's Psychopathic Poro. He does really good videos. He doesn't have enough viewers. I'm gonna link him in the description too. So, night. Anything else?
Bye.
All right. Bye.
No.
See y'all.